Mercedes is showing no signs of slowing down their efforts to upgrade the 2023 car. While many may assume it's mainly about establishing a strong foundation for the next season, there is a more significant reason driving the Brackley-based team's determination to continue pushing in 2023. The increased competition from McLaren and the looming threats posed by Ferrari and Aston Martin make it crucial for Mercedes to maintain their performance throughout the second half of the season. This goal can only be achieved through continuous car upgrades until the season's end. However, what's the primary driving factor behind these upgrades, and can Mercedes make the most of it in the near future? Stay tuned to find out. The rules introduced in 2022 brought significant changes to the sport, similar to the changes in 2014 and 2005. These changes were aimed at challenging the team that was dominating at that time, which was Mercedes in this case. The main reason for Mercedes' lack of competitiveness was their aerodynamic disadvantage caused by the unique design of their W13 and W14 cars. The later version, W14, even got an updated B version during the season, and it became clear that various factors need to come together for Mercedes to be competitive at the front again. One way they tried to improve their car was by completely redesigning it. However, because of strict budget limits and rules set by the FIA, they can't make big changes to their engine until 2026. This means Mercedes can't quickly make their car perform better, so they've been adding smaller upgrades to the car, but nothing seems to help much. They did manage to get some more performance from the updated W14B version, but it still isn't enough to compete with Red Bull. However, things have taken a different turn. They've fallen behind McLaren, and there's a big risk of them losing their second position in the Constructors' Championship to both Aston Martin and Ferrari. The lead they have over these teams is not as comfortable as they'd prefer. Currently, Mercedes is ahead of Aston Martin by 51 points and Ferrari by 56 points. But since there are still 10 races left in the season, it wouldn't be wise for them to give up now and shift their focus to the 2024 car. When a team struggles to make a competitive car for the current racing season, their usual plan is to shift their focus to the next season as soon as possible. However, the changes for the 2024 season won't be huge, unlike what we're seeing now. So, Mercedes and other teams have to work on improving their cars as much as they can in 2023. They hope that the improvements they make this year will form a strong foundation for the future. Red Bull has a significant lead, and it's clear that catching up to them in 2023 will be really tough, but that doesn't mean Mercedes can't find ways to boost their performance by 1 to 2 seconds, similar to how McLaren did with a few upgrades. Now it looks like Mercedes has plenty of reasons to do just that. Mercedes really needs to focus on their position in the Constructors' Championship, although Wolff may have mentioned that he's not too concerned about being second, third or fourth. The reality within the Mercedes team is different. If you remember last season, they've been in a tough battle with Ferrari for the second spot in the Constructors' Championship. This battle has gone down to the wire in many cases, and it's often because of financial reasons rather than just personal pride. The difference in money that a team earns based on their position in the Constructors' Championship is huge, amounting to millions, and Mercedes definitely doesn't want to make a mistake and lose the second spot to other teams who are aggressively trying to take it from them. While Mercedes has a dependable pair of drivers, we shouldn't underestimate McLaren. They now have 2 cars that are frequently in contention for podium finishes. Speaking about this matter, Richard Bradley, who won the Le Mans race in 2015, explains that Mercedes will be eager to capitalize on the prize money. In times when there are tight financial constraints and prices are rising, even $300,000 could determine whether a car can win a race or struggle to reach the podium. Richard continued to explain in more detail, "I think for Mercedes, there'll be a lot of benefits for them because they're in a serious fight for those Constructors' Championship points and those positions. P1 for the Drivers' Championship and for the Constructors is pretty much a done deal. So for Red Bull, it would make sense if they start to shift their focus because they are in a league of their own at the minute. But for Mercedes, there's a very real chance that they could finish second, but there's also a very real chance that they could finish fourth as well. Just to put that into perspective, I don't know the exact numbers because it changes every year. That's probably a difference of about 10 to 15 million in prize money, which is a serious amount of money. So for Mercedes, there are definitely gains to be had by continuing to develop this year's car. But Red Bull, it makes no sense to be honest. To give you a better understanding, let's remember last year that Ferrari decided to stop working on their car's development when they realized they couldn't catch up to Red Bull. This led to them losing ground to Mercedes and a tough fight for second place in the Constructors' Championship. If Ferrari had lost that battle, they would have also missed out on a significant amount of money. This money could have been used for more improvements and testing to figure out how Red Bull is the only team that seems to have grasped the 2022 technical rules. So it really makes sense for Mercedes to keep improving their car this season. The question is, will they actually do it? Hamilton has been pushing the team in this direction, suggesting they should follow McLaren's example. He believes that adopting their own version of the most successful team's strategies could help Mercedes get back on top. However, Wolff has a different view. He mentioned that while there will be some minor updates for the car in the upcoming races, we shouldn't expect any big changes. The team might have to start focusing on the 2024 season sooner than they initially planned. Naturally, the increasing pressure from Red Bull, who have already shifted their focus to the 2024 season, might influence Mercedes to do the same. However, if Mercedes chooses this path, they could lose two important things: a strong base for next year's car and a couple positions in the Constructors' Championship. While McLaren's threat isn't too alarming, as they got off to a slower start this season, giving up a 51 to 56 point lead with 10 races remaining isn't a decision to be taken lightly. When discussing the upcoming part of the season and what we can anticipate from Mercedes, Mike Elliott added, "I think with what we've done now, we've clearly not jumped completely to where they are or to where anybody else is. What we've tried to do is to take what we've got and adapt it. Therefore, you don't sort of take the same hit, and hopefully with time it evolves and we'll end up in a better place. I think when we brought the first version, it was pretty much a level change. It wasn't something that brought lots of extra performance, but there were opportunities to look at something different. We've sort of moved forward." Certainly, Mercedes should consistently be concerned about the increasing threat posed by teams like Ferrari and Aston Martin. These teams could potentially make a similar leap in performance as McLaren did, and they are already closer to Mercedes than McLaren is. Therefore, upgrading the car and maintaining their second position in the Constructors' Championship should always be a top priority. Even though Aston Martin relies heavily on one main driver and Ferrari's poor strategies are a recurring issue, Mercedes should not make a mistake and risk losing tens of millions of dollars due to their pride and confidence. Such a decision could be seen as unwise at this point. In my opinion, Mercedes is known for making impressive turnarounds, but Red Bull has had a significant lead this season. Trying to catch up to them is a tough challenge, and the smartest approach would be focusing on developing the W15 while also making improvements to the W14 along the way, securing the second position in the Constructors' Championship and aiming for the third or even second place in the drivers' standings would greatly boost the team's confidence. It's important to note that the W14 isn't always the second fastest car in every race, which highlights the drivers' consistency. This is a positive aspect for them. Let's wait and see what surprises Mercedes has for us in the second half of the season after the summer break. Should Mercedes focus on next year's car or keep bringing upgrades? Share your thoughts in the comments below.